Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
What is a family secret you only got told after you got older? My grandfather did not die of a heart attack in the garage. My grandmother accidentally hit him with a car. What happened was she was in the driveway trying to back out. He was standing in front of the car guiding her. She thought she was in reverse. She was looking back. Pressed the gas. Car went forward and pinned my grandfather against the garage door. I was 6 at the time and I still remember her sobbing uncontrollably at his wake. Almost screaming. She kept calling out to him. They had been married 52 years. She never drove after that. She would walk miles to the grocery store. She never spoke about how he died, but spoke about him all the time. She would always tell me stories and ask me about my memories of him so that I wouldn't forget them. She lived another 23 years with that guilt. She was a strong lady. Many years later, I had overheard my dad telling someone that his father had died of a car accident. I interjected and said he died of a heart attack in a car. That's not a car accident. I was then letting on the family secret.
What is the easiest, legal way to make money on the side? House sitting. No, seriously, people will pay you to just sit in their house while they're on vacation even if they don't have any pets to take care of. Donate plasma. Especially right now, new donors in my area are getting 100 to 175, Uber Eats or DoorDash. For me, I prefer Uber Eats. Filling out surveys for money, people underestimate them because a lot are scams, but on websites like surveysenpai.com you can actually make a few hundred a month for like 30 minutes a day. If you have even the slightest amount of writing talent, you can get commissions from weird furries, or other niche fandoms, to write pretty mediocre stuff for a fat paycheck. I know this guy who's paid on multiple occasions, $70 a pop for poorly formatted, more or less amateur short stories about furries and Pokemon or whatever. Seriously, these people will gladly pay mad cash for literally any quality of writing as long as it indulges their interests. What is the most unethical, but legal, way to get rich quick? Charities are only required to use a small portion of their donations towards the actual cause. Being a paid shill on Wikipedia, I get paid between $200 to $500 to create articles about people and organizations who want more publicity. Some people pay more than $1,000 to get a Wikipedia article, buy patent rights to life-saving medication and hike the price up sky high. I knew a guy who was a witch doctor. He charged $25,000 to cast a spell to bring an ex-lover back to you. It never worked, but there was nothing that could really be done for you as he had all these forms stating that he made no guarantees since the spirit world did what it did. He was very popular too, which I could never understand. I told my wife I'm going to stop practicing law and become a witch doctor as the hours and pay are much better. She vetoed that idea. Filling out surveys for money, people underestimate them because a lot are scams, but on websites like surveysenpai.com you can actually make a few hundred a month for like 30 minutes a day.
What are some men's issues that are overlooked? So I'm at the park playing tag with these kids I'm babysitting and out of nowhere this old lady comes up to me and starts asking all sorts of questions. Do you know these kids? What are their names? Can you call their parents for me? Even asking the kids if they knew me, and when they answered yes, she responded with, "You don't have to lie. If you don't know this man, you can tell me and I can help you." I saw a woman attempting to hit her boyfriend outside a local supermarket. He walked away from her. She followed him and kept hitting him. After this went on for about 90 seconds, he shoved her away roughly once. 2 cars immediately stopped and men jumped out of them shouting at and threatening this guy for shoving her. Nobody did anything when she was attacking him. What instantly makes a girl hot? I started dating a girl who would dress in fancy clothes and seemed a little uptight. When I took her home one night, her dad met up with us with their golden retriever. The dog got really happy and started bouncing, and it got dirt all over the girl's fancy clothes. The girl just laughed and started playing with the dog. That made her very attractive. Just being herself and not caring about little stuff. Bedtime. All day my girlfriend will complain about being cold. The instant she is asleep I could fry an egg on her thighs. And she cuddles in relentlessly. Someone save me. A sense of humor. I used to be a waiter and I was serving a girl and her mom. This girl was kind of pretty but not really my type. By the end of me waiting on her, from all her jokes and everything, I thought she was insanely attractive. Then she mentioned her boyfriend. A good attitude. I can't count how many women on first look I think are not attractive at all. But when I hang out with them I'm incredibly attracted to them. So yeah, that's the winner for me. A good attitude.
Of Reddit, what can you acknowledge is harder for women? The risk of losing your life when having children. Yes, I know men can't have children, but hear me out. I work in a maternity theater and see hundreds of births every year. It amazes me the amount of pain and risk that women have to go through to have kids. Seriously, my respect for women has no bounds. I see what they go through during childbirth and I think I could never do that. By the time they get to the emergency theater they've usually already been struggling to progress for various reasons for hours. They arrive tired, scared, upset, worried, bleeding, in extreme pain and feeling a million emotions in between. Add into that things can take a turn for the worse very quickly, and it is quite scary for the theater staff as well. Ladies of Reddit, just know if you come into the theater when I'm on duty, I got your back. I don't think us men appreciate this.
What was the most uncomfortable thing that happened to you during sex? We're going at it and happened to look over at my dog. He was getting it in with one of his toys simultaneously. He does this every time. Not sure who raised him. There's a knock on my door. It's my mom asking if she can come in. I say a loud and resounding no. She opens the door anyway. Because she did not take the time to process what was said. Mood ruiner for sure. She pulled me into her room and initiated. Then about 10 minutes or so into it, she starts bawling. Asking me, why are you doing this to me? I don't understand why you're doing this to me. So I stopped and tried to make sure she was okay. Then she kept asking, why aren't you foosing me? Girl I dated. Her father was in jail for sully-auzing her. She told me how he was even caught by the mom and brothers on several occasions. Took the older brother to stand up and testify since the other brothers and mom were afraid to. So we're dating a couple weeks and in our honeymoon phase. We're doing it doggy. I'm going slowly building up some tension. She turns to me and says, "Ugh. That's how my dad did it."
Boys, be brutally honest, what makes a girl attractive instantly? Instantly? Having a pretty face. Edit, y'all are really over-validating me here. Lol, thanks for the crazy amount of upvotes.
What's the scariest gut feeling you had that came true? Not me, but my dad. My family and some of my parents' friends were supposed to go abroad to take part in a wedding. The day before we were supposed to go, my dad woke up after a nightmare, in full panic. I remember thinking it was scary to see a grown-up being so afraid of a nightmare. But it resulted in us not going, and I was so mad because I had been looking forward to it for ages and told all my friends at school about it. But Dad refused to go. It was the 28th of September 1994, the country we were supposed to visit was Estonia, and the ferry we were supposed to be on sank that night, 852 people died. My dad later described the feeling as an alarm inside my body, shouting at me that this is wrong, it will not end well, don't do it. The alarm was so strong it could not be ignored. It's not like a normal worry before you make a long trip, not at all. The normal worry is like a car alarm going off on your street, you notice it but pay no attention to it and so it goes away. This was more like an explosion.
What do you swear you saw, but don't have any proof of? I was having a secret smoke one night, and when I was finished I went to put the ashtray in my hiding place on the top of a high cupboard in my kitchen. Instead of getting the footstool, I was on my tiptoes and stretching up to put the ashtray up there when I lost my balance and the ashtray slipped out of my fingers and fell down to the floor. I ducked out of the way so I didn't get covered in ash or get hit by the heavy glass ashtray, and I heard it hit the ground behind me loudly and then clatter as it rolled. I sighed as I knew I'd have to clean up ash from the floor and was annoyed at myself for being clumsy. But then when I turned around to where I had heard it land, there was nothing there. I honestly spent about 30 minutes looking all over that kitchen for the ashtray or even a trace of ash on the floor, but there was nothing. It and its contents had simply vanished into thin air. I went to bed totally freaked out that night and had another look the next morning. People who caught their significant others cheating. What was your reaction? June 1st, 2018. My husband had kissed me goodbye and gone to work. I was cleaning the house for company who was coming to stay the weekend. The doorbell rang. There was a man at my door who introduced himself as the husband of a woman who my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that my husband and his wife were having an affair. He had busted them about 6 months prior and had told his wife that she had to end the affair. He thinks that she did end it for about 3 months. But then they started up again. When he found out they were at it again, he called my husband because he knew if he confronted him in person, he'd be in a jail cell for what he'd have done. On the phone, he told my husband to leave his wife alone or else he would come and tell me everything that was happening. Apparently, my husband thought that he was bluffing. So I was literally the last to know. My husband never came home again. He got an Airbnb and a lawyer. The divorce was December 21st, 2018. We had been together for 24 years. Still hurts. What's the most creepily intelligent thing your pet has ever done? When I lived with my ex, we got a cat that would occasionally come make pitifully adorable tiny mews outside my bedroom door when she wanted attention. Usually it was 50-50 wanting to be cuddled or wanting me to shake the food bowl so she couldn't see the bottom. One time she sounded a lot more urgent than usual. I went and opened the door and she ran off. Okay. Not cuddles. I followed her down the stairs and she turned left into the dining room instead of right into the kitchen where her food was. Okay, what's up? She went to the middle of the floor and sat down, staring at a window. Took me a couple of seconds to realize the bird feeder usually suction cup to the outside was missing and she was very distressed about it. I went outside and put it back on the window. And she jumped on the stool by the window to watch me do it. When I went back and I walked back into the dining room, she looked over her shoulder at me, then jumped down. Ran over. Rubbed against my legs for a few seconds, then went back and jumped back on the stool again. Wait. What is something shocking you found out about a friend after they died? Went to a friend from college's funeral about a month ago. He passed young, early 30s, and had a wife and 3 small kids, with the youngest 2 being twins born early this year. I get to the funeral and was surprised how well her wife seemed to be holding it together. Apparently the reason she wasn't very upset was because the friend had been leading a double life for the past 13 years. He had always claimed his dad had owned a trucking company and then sold it, leaving him really well off. He also had claimed his mom passed while we were in school, that he was an only child. Turns out none of it was. His mom and sister attended the funeral. The mom, all of us, including his wife, thought had died when we were in college, and the sister none of us knew existed. The trust fund he told that he set up for the girls doesn't exist. He had maxed out multiple credit cards she didn't know existed. And on top of all of this, he was cheating with multiple other women. I'm still sad my friend passed, but we realized we never met the real him. We are doing what we can to help his family. What is a common myth about your country that is 100% false but many people still believe in it? Romania. Many people believe we have vampires. But in my 700 years of living here, I haven't even seen one. I asked my mates back in the castle and they also haven't seen any. And they've been around for longer than I. Something's wrong here. I can feel it. Yeah. People over 700 still have to rent. It's messed up. You used to be able to afford your own castle just selling bread. Welsh people shag sheep. Temptation is there, but the static shock wouldn't be worth it. Static shock temptation. Finland doesn't exist. Saw some devs stream a strategy game that dynamically generated country names as they formed/were conquered. The Finnish viewerships were not happy that Finland became Swedish Russia. That it is always hot in Australia. It's not. It goes from hot to cold. There is no other temperature except. What is something inappropriate you did as a kid and realized years later? I have no idea why. But when I was probably 9 or 10, I got into a yelling match with the older sister of one of my friends. I stormed off and was halfway between her house and my grandparents, and we were still yelling when she said something that pissed me off. So I used the worst insult I could. "FK you," I screamed. "Who is going to FK me?" she asked. Now this presented a bit of a problem since I had no idea what it actually meant. So I considered 2 possible answers. One was that it was like "goddamn you" and so God should do the fucking. The other was that it was something one person did to another. That seemed much more personal, visceral, and threatening. So I went with that. Me. You wish you could FK me. Yeah. You'd get all the pleasure. At which point I was super confused. And had to concede I'd overstepped my ability with cursing. I just retreated to my grandparents' house, where nothing was said. But I was treated to some disapproving looks.
What do you think women are better at than men? Going to the doctor when something is wrong. Standing in the shower with the water temperature turned all the way up to liquid fucking magma. Seriously, how the fuck is it even possible? Massive blood loss. Without dying. Finding things in the fridge that men swear did not exist until that moment. Long-distance cold water outdoor swimming. Enduring the ravages of long-term spaceflight. Women lose muscle mass slower than men. There are video examples of female astronauts walking after re-entry when their male crew members have to be carried due to muscle atrophy. I think the Air Force did some research a while back and women were better able to recover from high-G stress in fighter aircraft. Also living longer. Women live longer than men in general.